Hi, Spirit Artists. Are we ready for some Square One art? Today I'm going to take you through the whole Square One art activity. Now you have 3 art classes to complete this in, so you might want to take a little bit at a time. Ms. Fredrickson's class, I need your work by 10/22, which is the day before our 3rd art class next time, so make sure you guys have yours done in probably 2 art classes, or just do it a day early before we see art. So this is a picture and it's based on a famous artist, and hopefully you read about the artist right before. If you didn't, pause the video, go back and look at the artist. And it's a pop art that we're making. The first thing and the most important part of your art is this letter. Now, I want the letter to come from either your first name or your last name, or if your middle name is really important to you, you can use your middle name. So J is for my first name and E is for my last name. I did both because I kind of wanted to play around with it and see which one I like. So the first thing I want you to do is just get a piece of scrap paper, and I want you to practice your letter. So if your first name begins with an L, you could just draw an L. Let me do it, and I'm doing it in Sharpie, but I want you to do it in pencil because sometimes pencil doesn't show up in my videos. So if you have an L, the first thing you do is just draw a regular L, and then start playing around with it and turning it into a block letter. Maybe I want to go this way, turn it into 2 pieces. If you see mine, I split it up into some pieces because you're going to make these really cool patterns. So that's going to be helpful. So if your first name is an S, draw an S. S is a little harder, and then you could just start playing around with it. Maybe make a loop there, make 1 here, or you can make more. You can split it into as many pieces as you want. So just keep practicing your letter. Try your first and your last name. See which one you like better. A is like the example, which I posted too, so you guys can look at the example. You can make an A. I would erase these lines right here. You wouldn't want those lines through your A, so that's just, you know, you using a pencil. Make sure when you use a pencil that you sketch. We want to make light lines on our Square One paper. You don't want to make really heavy lines because then it's really hard to erase. All right, so you can pause the video. As soon as you're happy with your letter, you can move on to your Square One art paper. Remember, if you still haven't picked up the Square One art paper, they are sitting in the office for you anytime you want to come pick it up. If you mess up, just let me know and you can pick up another paper. I have a few extra copies for those of us. Make sure you print your first, your last name, your grade, your teacher, and your school. Make sure this is in blue or black ink, okay, not pencil. And make sure you're able to read it really carefully. I also gave you the directions for submitting it online, but you're welcome to just drop it off at Spirit, and Miss Elliott will do all the submission for you. All right, so once you want your letter to take up most of the middle part of it, and as soon as it's done, you can go ahead and trace it with Sharpie. You want to definitely make sure it's in Sharpie. Make sure you have a good Sharpie, and it doesn't have to be too thick. It just could be a regular Sharpie like that. All right, so after you're done, you're going to, again, trace your line. Now I'm going to teach you how to make the lines. You're only making 4 lines. If you already made a bunch of lines, you're not following the directions. I only want 4 lines on your entire paper, so I'm going to show you how to make them. You want to use a pencil the first time. So you're going to hold your ruler this way. It could be on any part of your paper. Okay, you're going to hold it here or here, and you can do any angle you want. You're going to hold it, and you're going to draw your line the whole way through. You do not want to draw through your letter, so if you draw through your letter, just erase it. And after you draw your first line, you're going to move your ruler down the paper. It could be anywhere else on the paper. Here I changed my angle to make it a little more interesting. So once you're happy with it, draw your second line. So this side of the paper should only have 2 lines. Turn your paper around, and we're going to draw 2 lines the other way. All right, so remember, just put your ruler anywhere on the paper. You can do any angle you want. Draw your line through. Don't draw it through your letter. And then you're going to go over here and do the same thing. Okay, remember you can change your angle. If you do the same, if you just do straight, vertical, and horizontal, it's not going to be as interesting. You're going to have more rectangles. If you see, I have a bunch of different shapes. Once you're done and you're happy with your lines, if you don't like your lines, erase them and try again. That's why we always use pencil first. You're going to take your Sharpie and you're going to trace your line. Do you see I'm still using the ruler because I want a perfectly straight line. If you don't have a ruler, you just have to use a straight edge. Try a book or a piece of paper, but just be careful when you're using your Sharpie because it'll probably get on your ruler, but it's okay. Or whatever straight edge. So don't use a really important book. Use something that you wouldn't mind getting a little messy. All right, and then trace all your lines. Don't go through your letter, especially with a Sharpie because you can't erase it. All the way through and all the way through. If you've gotten up to this step, you could stop for week 1. Well, actually, before you stop, I would like you to go with your eraser. And I have a really cool, this is a really good eraser. If you see these at Target or Walmart, I would pick them up, especially if you love to draw because they work so well. They're my favorite erasers and my favorite pencils, Ticonderoga. But you just go through your whole paper and I don't want to see any pencil marks. So that's why we do it in Sharpie, because Sharpie won't erase, won't smudge. As long as it's dry, you make sure there are no eraser marks. All right, so we're gonna call this part 1. If you wanna keep going, go ahead and part 2. Okay, there we go. Let me make sure. I'm gonna actually tune mine up a little, okay? All right, bye guys for now.